Pokémon Box, Ruby and Sapphire. Let's talk about this bad boy. Pokémon Box released in 2003 in Japan, and everywhere else in 2004 on the Nintendo GameCube. It was pretty accessible in Japan and Europe, but in the US it has a very weird history. You see, nowadays, if you visit Rockefeller Center in New York City, you'll find the Nintendo New York building. But back in 2004, this was the Pokémon Center. There are a few Pokémon Center stores out there nowadays, but this was the one and only in the United States. And for the North American version of Pokémon Box, it was only purchasable at this store specifically for a short time for a very small $20. As a result, the North American version of this game is very hard to come by, thus making it quite expensive nowadays. I'm very lucky to have finally gotten my hands on a copy of this, something I've been wanting to do for a long time. But let's talk about what this game actually is, though. In fact, it's not necessarily a game, rather a tool to help store Pokemon off of the cartridges. Think about it as the OG Pokemon Home, but for Generation 3 only, with a few extra features. To even play this game, you'll need a memory card with 59 blocks available to use it. Thankfully, the game comes with a very cool Ruby and Sapphire themed memory card. The stickers on the memory card have been peeled off the insert they initially came on, but this memory card still looks very cool compared to the normal one. With the memory card inserted, you can turn on the game and enjoy the newly remastered opening theme. In fact, nearly all of the music in this game is remastered songs from Ruby and Sapphire, which is a really nice touch. In your Game Boy Advance, insert the game you're going to connect, which can be either Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, Fire Red, or Leaf Green, and then connect it to the GameCube using the GBA link cable. Starting this game, it instructs you to power on the GBA so it can pull data from the cartridge. There's a unique logo on the GBA screen that I can't find anywhere online, and I was determined to find out how I could get a visual for you, the viewer. With a Wii, GameCube, the GBA player and its disc, a GBA link cable, 2 GameCube controllers, my Elgato capture card, and all of the supporting cables, I am very proud to show you what this screen looks like. Underwhelming to most of you maybe, but you should have seen how thrilled I was to be able to capture this screen. I'm happy I get to show you. Anyways, you're greeted by Bridget, the sister of the famous Lynette in Hoenn, in her workstation. Lynette made the box system as a huge improvement on Bill's system used in the generation prior, and Lynette's PC is still used as the basis for the PC we have today, even in Gen 9. And the theme playing on this part is Falarbor Town, which is the city Lynette lives in. I think that's a cute detail. The details don't stop there though, because in Bridget's office space you could see a few things around here, like a map of Hoenn on the wall, or a couple of screenshots from the game on her desktop. She's also holding a Hoenn Pokédex, and a cute detail you may have missed is that she has a Lotad doll on her PC monitor. This is what Lynette gives you in Hoenn when you pay her a visit, implying she gives these to everyone. And now I want one. The trainer name and ID from the connected game is displayed on top. As a token of our first meeting, Bridget gives you a mysterious egg and places it in your box, but we'll get to that later. The first option you can choose here is the main one, Arrange Boxes. This is basically Pokemon Home, except the boxes hold 60 Pokemon each instead of the usual 30, for a total of 1,500 Pokemon. On the top are the Pokemon on the memory card, and the bottom are the Pokemon that are on the cartridge. You can move between the two very freely thanks to the use of the C-Stick. You can view their stats screen to see their moves, contest stats, etc. It's actually incredible that the load times between the Pokemon here are faster than Sword and Shield. Anyways, while this is helpful, I was afraid there was going to be no option to move mass amounts of Pokemon at a time. It seems like there was no option for it, but I cracked open the manual like it was the car ride home in 2004, and sure enough, by holding the A button, you can move mass amounts of Pokemon at a time. This feature alone really made Pokemon Box have a ton of value for me. You can't withdraw Pokemon from Box unless you've caught 100 different species per game, however, and that is an unfortunate clunkiness to an otherwise really smooth process. A feature I almost entirely missed though was an option called Go To List, which formats all 1,500 Pokemon in an Excel-like table. From here, you can look at all the Pokemon information on the right side, like which box it's stored stored in, its typing, its stats, its moves, its contest stats, its ability, nature, and even friendship. You can move your cursor to the right side and even filter your Pokemon by these things. Say I wanted to find the Pokemon with the highest friendship. I can select the column and sort it that way. Or I can search by type, whether it be just one or two. You can combine the filters and sorts to find any specific Pokemon you might be looking for. Let's say I wanted to find a water-type Pokemon that knows Aurora Beam, that is also a gentle nature. Hover over the Pokemon and you can jump to its location in the box. For me, this feature is super duper ahead of its time, and I really appreciate this functionality as an Excel geek. Remember that egg we got from Bridget before? Well, there's more where that came from. Transfer that egg to a game, preferably Emerald because that's when Magma Armor helps with hatching, and you'll find a special Swablu that knows the move False Swipe, something it normally can't learn. If Pokemon Box has at least 100 Pokemon in the box, then you get your next egg. Hatching this egg reveals a special Zigzagoon with the move Extreme Speed. Once again, something it normally can't learn. If your boxes have at least 500 Pokemon in it, then you get a third egg, and this one hatches a Skitty with a typically unlearnable Payday. Lastly, if you have 1,499 Pokemon stored in Pokemon Box, you get the fourth and final egg. This one hatches into a Pichu with the special move Surf. I'm going to break away here to apply a note to anyone else in the future who is just as confused and frustrated as I was. So, there's a hidden pre-qualification the game checks to gift you any of these eggs, but the Pichu one is the one that really makes it difficult, because for some reason, all 1,499 Pokemon need to be transferred to Box from the same trainer profile. Because the game only holds 420 Pokemon, this means you need to transfer the Pokemon from Box to the game, then back to Box 4 times at minimum, while saving in between each time. Leave a comment if that doesn't make any sense, but I'll end this by saying, man, I was frustrated not getting this egg after days of researching. Either way, it's cool to flex at the nearest beach and surf away on a Pichu. I can't imagine what these people are thinking. Unfortunately, this Pichu can't be transferred to Generation 4 because all Pokemon need to have their HM moves removed to be sent to Pal Park. And if you do that, well, then it's just a normal Pichu at that point. So, it looks like this Pichu is doomed to the tropical climate of Hoenn for the rest of its life. You can also choose the option Showcase, which is a pretty useless feature, I'll say. This feature allows you to set a stage and then grants you the ability to showcase a Pokemon sprite anywhere you want to. Each stage can hold up to 64 Pokemon to display, and it even accounts for shinies, which is cool. You can build a stage using one of the 10 shapes, like circles or triangles, and then you can even customize the pattern of those shapes with one of 10 textures. You can even change the background to match the pattern or help the Pokemon pop out. You can even change the way the Pokemon is displayed with one of 5 display cases, and the music, which again is updated versions of songs from the mainline game, like the Oceanic Museum or Slateport City. In fact, linked in the description is a playlist of the OST. Check it out if you're into Poke theme music like I am. The last option you have is at the very beginning, the first menu, titled Go to Adventure. Selecting this allows you to play Ruby or Sapphire on your TV, which is really awesome for the time. The only downside is that it can only play Ruby and Sapphire, and not Emerald, Fire Red, or Leaf Green. I guess that's why I have one of these then. Playing through pretty much functions normally, but it does feel a little weird running on the grid with a GameCube analog. But hey, it's still cool. By pressing the Z button, you're able to snap a photo. There's a few filters that can be added, but not a whole lot. You could take a photo both in the playthrough screen and the showcase feature. And by going back to the boxes, you're able to upload them as wallpapers for the boxes themselves. I think this feature has the potential of being cool, but it's not necessarily executed properly. Either way, it doesn't hurt to have the option. And remember, this game was $20 on release. The last thing I have to show you is this. Remember how we were playing Sapphire earlier with the adventure feature? there's a frame around the gameplay to add a nice polished look. This frame is obviously themed after Ruby and Sapphire, with the metallic coloring and the patterns of Groudon and Kyogre. Pause right there for 1 second, and we're gonna go a little off script here. I'm just freeballing it here. This was supposed to be like a 15-second segment, but every website on the internet is lying or wrong or whatever about this, and I'll show you why. So, according to Bulbapedia, Super Cheats, game FAQs, multiple websites, forums, and all that stuff, talk about that if you complete the Pokedex in Ruby and Sapphire, you will have an alternate border on Pokemon Box's little adventure mode, right? So this is me playing Sapphire here, and I only had like 12 Pokemon on Sapphire, so I had to catch 100 to be able to transfer from Box, so that took forever, took all day yesterday, literally all day, just to get this border. And then I transferred everything from Box, because as you know, recently I just uploaded a video where I completed the Dex in Gen 3. I have 386 seen and owned in Sapphire, so my Dex is complete. So where's the alternate border? Good question, right? Well, I did a little bit of research, and I did a little bit of testing. According to every website, you're supposed to get this when the Dex is complete, but I went to go get my diploma again. I spoke with Professor Birch to evaluate my Pokedex again. None of that did anything. I saved and rebooted, nothing. You can push the Z button, and it'll open up this menu. Continue is just like a back button, like that. Quit is like just to back out of this entirely and go back to the Pokemon Box menu, and then take pictures is that little feature that I was talking about earlier in the video. Well, there's no option to be able to change the border, so where the heck is it? Bulbapedia has a picture of this. Spriter's Resource has the file for the border, so where is the border? That drove me crazy. I searched every single video of somebody playing Pokemon Box on YouTube. Every one of them. If you look at my YouTube history right now, it is like 70 videos of just Pokemon Box. None of them have the border. Not a single one. So where is this border? It drove me crazy. I went to Reddit, of course, and I found an old post of Pokemon Box, and I messaged the guy. His name was Dazzling Towel. He's awesome, because he was very quick to respond. And he pulled up, and he says he has completed X, but he didn't get the border either. But with the use of some cheats or something, I don't know. I don't do that. But he was able to pull up the border on his game to prove that the file for the border is in fact in Pokemon Box. It's there. But how do you change it? I posted it on the subreddit for GameCube, and somebody also commented saying that he was able to look into the files. He has a complete Dex too. He's not getting the border either. He was able to look into the files and see the name of the files. And get this, let me pull this up so I can read it to you. The name of the file is HMZ button boy language and HMZ button girl language. So with that little bit of information, we deducted that maybe it's just a gender-based background. Well, I have all these freaking playthroughs of Gen 3 games, and while in every other game I use the female character, for some reason, I don't have any playthroughs with May. So I cranked up Ruby out of the box that I have, that I don't really play this one. This is more of a display one, and sure enough, it's got 3 badges, and like only 10 Pokemon registered or something like that. So it definitely doesn't meet the Pokedex requirements, the post-game requirements, the even 100 Pokemon to transfer or anything like that. But it is May. I'm playing that file as May. Sure enough, boom! There it is! That is the border. That's the one that Bulbapedia shows. That's the one Spriter's Resource shows. Every website shows that that border is for completing the Pokedex. I don't know why. because it doesn't. And as you saw in my save data right there, I only have 3 badges and 14 Pokemon and 2 hours played. That's it. So I don't know where that misinformation came from. This drove me insane to figure this out. I mean, I spent the past like 2 or 3 days just reading, researching, catching 100 of Pokemon in Sapphire just to not get the border. It drove me insane, but I could not upload this video in good faith without having this here. So here are the 2 frames that you can have in Pokemon Box's Adventure Mode. This totally reeks of the whole man versus women shampoo thing. I don't know. The girl one is 100 times better in my opinion, but that is it. It's gender locked. There's nothing regarding the dex completion to do this. At the end of the day, Pokemon Box Ruby and Sapphire offers the first dedicated physical storage system for a Pokemon mainline game, starting a trend that would live on even until today. I do wish both Bank and Home followed suit and were both physically available like Box was, just for preservation purposes. I am a huge collector and Pokemon dork after all. The game offers the ability to showcase sprites to highlight some of your proudest captures, as well as allowing you to play your favorite Pokemon games on the big screen. Originally, it even came with a memory card and a GBA link cable included in the packaging, all for the low cost of $20. Box really surprised me on its value on my recently completed quest to finish the National Pokédex in Emerald. I really will cherish it forever, no matter how often my friends tease me for spending that much money. Oh, and before I close out, I wanted to put this somewhere in the video, but I didn't quite know where, so here it is. Bridget is the host of Pokemon Box, but she's also the host of Pokemon Bank, which was released 10 years later. Here she's been Gen 6ified, and I gotta say, shoddy fine! And I gotta say, Game Freak, I'm a little disappointed she didn't come back for Pokemon Home. It's kind of disrespectful, because now I'm super invested in this. Anyways, guys, that's all I have to say about this beautiful relic. I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, Techno's out.